Welcome, my friends, to the Horror Syndicate's Werewolf Wednesday show. The show, the goal of the show is to shed a light on and talk about every single werewolf film in existence, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And tonight's topic is the 2006 film or 2007 film, whatever, Skinwalkers. This was it premiered at a film festival in 2006. It was supposed to be released in theaters on December 1st of that year, but then Lionsgate decided to push it back until August 10th of 2007. And so when you go to look this film up, there are contradictory dates depending on where you look. Some sources say 2006, some say 2007. So that is that. um, so yeah. Anyway, what is the film about? So Skinwalkers is it's about two different factions of werewolves. There is one side that they try to live civilized lives, and they also try to hang on to their humanity. And the way they do that is they have restraints in place so that when they turn, they don't feed and go dark, pretty much. And then there's the other side, who have already turned. They've already sort of lost themselves in their humanity, and they want to hold on to that power. And this particular story picks up on the dawn of a blood moon and a prophecy that's about to come true, in which a boy who will turn 13 on midnight under the blood moon will somehow possess the ability to end werewolves. And so you have the one side, the civilized side, who want to end the curse, so they want this to happen. And then there's the other side who wants to keep their power, and so they are trying to kill the boy. This is your basic prophecy slash destiny pursuit film, right? It's like the Terminator, or as far as someone who's destined to do something and there's a pursuit after them, or something like the Matrix, or even the Star Wars prequels, which have a boy who is prophesized to be the one or whatever. So that's that's the basic gist of it. It's a pursuit film. Two different factions of werewolves. One side is good, the other side is evil. Um, I've always kind of enjoyed this film. I don't think it's great, but I think it is a fun kind of turn your brain off, eat popcorn type of movie. I forgot I was going to pull up images as I was talking about it, and I totally forgot. Yeah, so let's talk about some of the things that I liked and some of the things I didn't like about it. Now, with the pros, I do kind of think the story is okay. I think the story works for what um, for what it is, and lost my train of thought. That was pretty quick. Yeah. Yes, I think the story is okay. It's basic, but I think with how they structured it here, it works for this particular story. So we have some of the good people here. Elias Katios, or however you say his last name. He, Casey Jones from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He's sort of the leader of the good side. Sarah Carter there plays his daughter, and there's a whole bunch of them, and they're sort of, it's a little cheesy with how it's depicted as sort of being all, they're kind of all like apple pie to each other. A little corny, um, but it works, and it works with, 'cause they really commit to it. So there is this idea that, as long as they don't feed, they get to keep their humanity, and so they have, and we see this in multiple different locations, but there's primarily this big truck, and it has a bunch of contraptions made for them to strap themselves in every night, um, so that when they turn, they don't feed. And then, and we do see, twice in this film, what happens when one of them does finally feed and how it does change them. And then there's the antagonist. Uh, these are only a small portion of the, uh, quote unquote bad werewolves. We see a bunch of them in the very opening of the film, and then they just kind of disappear for the rest of the movie. But you have this group here, and they're trying to kill the trying to kill the kid. Um, I think it's decent. Um, the the characters, I wish there was a little bit more to them. I wish, particularly some of the relationships. Um, Elias is a good actor, but there's just a certain point where a couple characters who are allegedly close to him, something happens to him, and he's not as emotional as one would expect. Now, I think the pacing of this film is pretty damn solid too. This is not a movie you'll likely get bored at, or bored watching. This is, you can literally, you know, put it in, turn off your brain, and watch it from start to finish. And it's a quick 90 minutes. A lot of stuff happens, and there's enough action to keep it going. Um, Now, some of the complaints I have about the film ultimately are, this is definitely more action heavy. This is more about, you see more like, gunfights than you do werewolf action, and when the werewolf action does happen, it's a little choppy because I think they're trying to, I don't know, maintain that PG-13 rating, which I think kind of hurt it. I'm not saying that extreme violence or, um, a lot of gore makes a movie good, um, in and of itself. However, when it comes to werewolves, I have an expectation of werewolves to be what they are, which are savage creatures. And I feel like when they do stuff where they try to do it in a PG-13, uh, type of film, uh, you don't get the creature for what they're supposed to be. Um, and there are moments in this film where you see the ins and outs of, the different characters shooting at each other, but then when, some of the werewolf stuff happens, like there's a scene in a bar, and you see sort of like the setup of it, and then there's just some cutting away, and I kind of wish that they showed what happened at the bar. Um, and another complaint I have, on top of the lack of werewolf action in favor of your more traditional, shootout stuff, And my other complaint is the werewolves themselves. Not really a fan of this design. Um, this is definitely going with the more Wolfman approach, right? And I mean, from that image, they don't look horrible, but when you see them, especially when you see the faces, it just doesn't look good at all. There's something about the eyes in that area that really bugs me about this look. Um, so yeah, I am not a fan of the werewolf designs for this. They were done by Stanleyson Studios. I get what they're going for with they're trying to make him look like the Wolfman, but more terrifying looking. But yeah, there's something about the faces that I especially do not like. Um, yeah. Uh, so when it comes to like uh, my scores here, I forgot to actually put them into this here, but maybe I'm being generous with a lot of the stuff. Acting, I gave a 6. I didn't think anyone was awful. Certain people weren't great, but I don't know if it was either the acting or if it was just the material that they had. Directing and cinematography, I gave them both 6.5s. I think it's a decently shot film. Perhaps that stuff is kind of um, affected by uh, maybe the editing, um, which kind of, I guess, takes away from it a little bit. The writing, I gave a 7. What I like about this film is that it is very, very focused on its story that it's telling and on the lore and the rules that the film has. Um, so I think it's fine. It's your basic, you know, uh, destiny or prophecy uh, pursuit film, but with werewolves. But I, I I kind of dig just how deep they they focused on the lore and of the world. So yeah, uh, the score I thought was okay. I gave it a 6. The werewolf designs I give a 5. Um, Not a fan. um, the effects as a whole, I gave as a 7 because despite despite the designs, I think the effects work is pretty damn good. I can't take away from that. It's just the design, just the look of them. What they do with the effects is fine. It's just the designs that I don't like. Werewolf action, I gave a 6. Because it unfortunately wasn't there as much as I wanted to. Production design 7. Entertainment wise, I gave it a 7. Um, Simple story, you know, of a kid who is prophesized to bring an end to werewolves, and there's the good and the bad who have their different agendas, either to keep them alive or to kill them. And I just think it's a fine film. The total, based on all those categories, is a 64 out of 100, which kind of surprised me because as I was going through all those categories, I was thinking to myself that maybe I was too generous in certain in certain categories, but then my total score ends up being a 64, and then that just gets me thinking how that kind of feels low to me. Like if you asked me without thinking about all the individual categories, I probably would have said like a 7 or a 70 or a 75, um, because I do find it to be entertaining. It's definitely entertaining. It's well paced. Yeah, so my total is 65. I have it ranked at 31 on my list of 125 werewolf films. I think, you know, if you're looking for a werewolf film to watch, you can do a lot worse than Skinwalkers. I think Skinwalkers does have a lot of potential to it. Um, I just kind of wish it was done a little differently. I wish it was more focused on the horror than the action. I know this is, a couple years after, The Matrix and Underworld, and I mean even Underworld um was very focused on the shootout stuff, but I think it had a better balance of the horror aspects with the werewolves in particular. Um yes, and I wish the werewolf designs were a little different, particularly in face. Um, I think the cast is fine. Yeah, uh, Rona Mitra, who was actually in Underworld 3 as Sonia, she's in this. She is the mother of the child. Um, uh, Jason Bear, Kim Coates. Kim Coates is I always like seeing him pop up and stuff. Um, uh, Elias is here. I mean, I was a fan of him since Ninja Turtles as Casey Jones. Sarah Carter there, who plays his daughter. She was in 3 episodes of Smallville. Um, so it was interesting seeing her. Um, yeah, I guess I'm a little bit more um, scatterbrained tonight than I thought I would be. Um, all of this sounded so much better earlier when I was kind of going over like what I was going to say, but that's neither here nor there. So yeah, Skinwalkers I think is worthy of a watch if you are into werewolf movies and if you are looking to just put one in and just have fun. Just beware that it's PG-13. Doesn't have much in terms of werewolf action and violence. Um, and uh, yeah, so there's my thoughts on Skinwalkers. I've liked it since it first came out, and then watching it again, I was just like, "Hey, I'm fine with this movie." But I can see why people don't. I guess. Sean says, "Hello, not seen this movie. Life just consistently." Yeah, I mean, if you watch it, let me know what you think. It's on Tubi and it's on Prime Video. I have the DVD of it. Um, Prophecy really works out. Yeah. What's up, Seth? Hope you're doing well. What's up, Sean? I am doing all right. Hope you're doing well as well. Sean Sheridan says Elias also in Crash, weirdest movie ever. Yeah. Thank you for the content today, man. Well, thank you for watching. Um, have you seen Skinwalkers? And if so, what do you think? Um, it's funny because I came across this article. It was I think it was I came across this article recently, but this article was published in like December of 2024, and it was Collider's top 10 worst werewolf films, and Skinwalkers made the list. And I I think it's a shame that that person has not seen many werewolf films. I could name, I mean, with where it's at on my list right now, there's nearly 100 werewolf films that are worse than Skinwalkers. Um, Little Red, Werewolf, Summer of the Wolf, Werewolves of the Third Reich, Carnivore, Werewolf of England, A Werewolf in England, uh, Werewolf Rising. Uh, there's so many that are worse than that, and so I just think it's funny because a lot of times, like if I come across like a worst of werewolf films, like people put in films that are not bad at all in comparison. Um, I just think the problem with this film uh, it's really the tone of it, and it's because of the decision to make it PG-13 and to make it more focused as an action film. Sean says, I don't think a werewolf film should be rated PG-13, just my 2 cents. Same here. I absolutely agree. Um, that's why I'm not like, you know, I'm not really a big fan of werewolf films that like sort of like take it as a joke. They make a joke with the material, in film. A Werewolf in England or Werewolf in England. I can't remember the exact title. It was from like 2020 maybe. Um, but there's a really long. I think it's a running joke in the film of the werewolf shitting, and I'm just like, why would you do this? And then there's stuff like I'm not saying they're bad movies, or I'm not saying the first one's a bad movie, but like Teen Wolf, like okay, he grows hair and then he plays basketball. Um, I don't know. I just when I watch a werewolf film, I want to see them for what they are, and they are supposed to be ruthless, savage. They are metaphorically speaking, werewolves have always sort of been like almost like a metaphor for humans anyway, and our animal instincts and our primal needs and desires, and the werewolf is you know it's free to be what it is. It's there's no typically speaking, there's no humanity to it, and uh, so they're not shackled by the rules of the world, uh, and yeah, they're just vicious, and I think that's what makes them cool creatures. Is they are almost one with nature, and they are free, so to speak. I don't know if I'm making any sense right now. Um, but yeah, uh, kind of doing them as like PG-13 movies. And I'm not saying horror films can't be PG or PG-13. We've seen it. There's a lot of really good horror films that are in those rating groups, but particularly for werewolves, you're just sort of cutting away, and when you do that, you kind of lose the threat of the beast. Again, I don't even know if I'm making sense right now. But haven't seen it, but we'll check it out. Yeah, just let me know what you think. I think it's you know I think it's got some good stuff in it, and but while not being great, John is watching it now. I can't get American Prime, so I'll have to suffer through ads while you are a trooper. When are you doing the Wolfman 2010? I'm curious to watch that. I've never seen it. Oh, I'm not sure if I even had it on my on the agenda for the rest of this year. Um, that might be 2026 material. Teen Wolf was enjoyable only because of the ending at the basketball game. Yeah, I mean, Teen Wolf is it's a fun movie, and it's there's a reason why it's well liked, and I'm not trying to trash talk it. It's just I don't love that film as much as other people do, and maybe it's just because of I have like my own expectations for werewolf films and my own preferences. So um, yeah, I'm watching now. Time for you to give Titanic a rewatch and Ray can rewatch The Dark Knight too. Yeah. Uh, no, man. Uh, I don't want to rewatch Titanic. I can't stand that movie. I know a lot of people love it. Not for me. I'll just say that. Sean says, "Really, you defend it? I would have thought it would be on the list. No, Teen Wolf, not for me." Yeah. So, I was trying to keep a little bit of a distance with that one because I did a show a couple months ago where I talked about. I did a show. I think it was called Wolfman: Past, Present, and Future, and so I talked about the 1941 film. I did talk a little bit about the 2010 film as well, and then my thoughts on like I think the trailer or whatever for Wolfman 2025, and then I think I brought it up again in my review of Wolfman 2025. So I'm trying to I'm going to schedule it for later down the road and do a full episode on it. But in the meantime, I want to also, you know, bring to light other werewolf films that don't get talked about very often. Go through some of the ones even that I don't like. I I'm committed to the idea of the show and to talking about every single werewolf film, and that means I'm going to have to talk about the ones that I don't like. So I kind of mix things around, put in some from when I created the agenda, put in some titles that I really like, and then I mixed in some titles I don't like, and it'll force me to rewatch a lot of them. Maybe I'll, um, like a certain one or two better the second time around. But yeah, so that's kind of like my mindset of like when I created the agenda. I almost didn't. I put in the for like the Howland films in like October, um, and I almost didn't do that. Um, but yeah, you have my thoughts on this next week. Okay, great. Uh, when do we get my suggestion? Werewolves and other films like Monster Squad. Actually, hold on a second. Let me. I just want to check my schedule because I thought maybe I got Monster Squad in there, but maybe I didn't. I'm looking right now. So let's see. March 5th next week is The Werewolf and the Yeti. March 12th, Full Eclipse. The 19th, Wolf Cop. 26th, another Wolf Cop. April 2nd, Werewolf Rising. April 9th, Beast of Bray Road. April 16th, Blood Moon. April 23rd, the Amityville Moon. April 30th, The Werewolf versus the Vampire Woman. May 7th, Cursed. May 14th, Alpha Wolf. May 21st, I Was a Teenage Werewolf from 1957. May 28th, I'm going to be talking about Werewolf the series. I'm going to be doing a ranking of every single episode. June 4th, The Werewolf from 1956. June 11th, Wolf Hollow. June 18th, A Werewolf in England. That's the one I was talking about with the werewolf shitting. The week after that is going to be Werewolf Castle, which is actually the same director of A Werewolf in England. I didn't realize I put them right next to each other. I probably should have just had his third one in there too, Lord of the Wolves. Okay, anyway, July 2nd, Silver Bullet. July 9th, The Werewolves on Wheels. Oh my god. June 16th, Viking Wolf. June 23rd, Curse of the Werewolf. I meant July. Did I say June? I don't know. July 23rd is Curse of the Werewolf. July 30th, Night Wolf. August 6th, I'll be doing a ranking of werewolf movies from 2025 so far at that point. August 13th, Never Cry Werewolf. August 20th, Lycan. August 27th, Hunter's Moon. September 3rd, Wolfen. September 10th, The Howlin'. 1981 film and book trilogy. A lot's already been said about The Howlin', so I'm going to focus mainly on the book trilogy from Gary Brandner for that one. September 17th, Howlin' 2, Your Sister's a Werewolf. September 24th, The Howlin' 3, The Marsupials. October 1st, Howlin' 4, The Original Nightmare. October 8th, Howlin' 5, The Rebirth. October 15th, Howlin' 6, The Freaks. October 22nd, The Howlin' New Moon Rising. October 29th, The Howlin' Reborn. November 5th, Ginger Snaps. November 12th, Ginger Snaps 2, Unleashed. November 19th, Ginger Snaps Back, The Beginning. November 26th, Dr. Jekyll and the Werewolf from 1972. December 3rd, Wolf of Snow Hollow. December 10th, Werewolves Within. And December 17th, Werewolf Movies of 2025 ranked. So, yeah, I'll probably put in like Monster Squad for the beginning of 2026. I thought I had that in there, but I guess I didn't. For anyone who wants to check it out here, I'll just share the link real quick. This is just the schedule that I came up with. I just wanted to make sure that I stuck to something. I didn't want to just kind of choose topics randomly at last minute. So I decided I was going to put together a schedule, and then I'm just going to stick to it. And again, talk about everything good, bad, and the ugly. Like, you know. But yeah. And then eventually, too, getting back to your comment there, I do want to talk about, especially 2026, other things too, sort of like Tales from the Crypt episodes involving werewolves, supernatural episodes involving werewolves. I want to talk about some books, some comics, just anything and everything. So all that stuff will be coming. I'll do a 2026 schedule by the end of this year. Sean Sheridan says, I'm not watching the Howlin' movies, or when does that go full bad Hellraiser sequel territory? Pretty bad. it's a pretty bad series that I always enjoy. I can't say guilty pleasures because I don't feel guilty about it, but I do think Helen 5, The Rebirth, is worth a watch. Probably the most out of all the sequels. But I don't know. Kendra says hello, I'm really late. Well, welcome. Talking about Skinwalkers. Have you seen it? Uh, I'll rehash my thoughts in a few. I hear Monster Squad is one that probably requires. Um, I don't think so. I love the Monster Squad. I mean, if you like the Universal films, you might dig Monster Squad for what it is. I'm assuming you haven't seen it. You're saying that. You have what about 2 years worth of content here? More than that. More than that. I mean, everything I just named off, that's all just for this year. And that doesn't even cover, I mean, there's still plenty. Um, there's a lot more. Yeah, there's always new werewolf films as well. So, uh, last weekend it was no idea. I'm curious, did just show come out of you having to go solo when Ray took a break last year, or did you plan a solo show for a while? I mean, I've been trying to get other things going for this channel for a while. When I started off by doing pre-recorded videos. Actually, my first video I did for the Horror Syndicate's YouTube is a ranking of the Howland trilogy. Um, and I've tried other things. I tried doing the Supernatural Syndicate. I had a couple friends who really enjoyed the show Supernatural, and we were starting to talk about it, but then just things kind of fell apart, um, and schedules weren't able to match up. And then, yeah, I when I first started doing this last year with what this show is now, the Werewolf Wednesday show, it wasn't planned really. It was a matter of Ray wasn't able to join for a while. Nate was doing other things, and so I was just trying to keep us going. And so I jumped on. I did an episode about werewolves. Seemed to get a decent response, and then I covered a couple other different topics. I think I did like my top 10 favorite horror film endings. I did Rob Zombie films ranked, but when I was putting in some werewolf stuff in between, and those ones some of you guys seem to respond to. So then it just evolved into um, the Werewolf Wednesday show, and it continues to evolve. Um, I think I kind of went in the right direction when I came up with the schedule, and uh, the determination um, to talk about all the werewolf films, not just the ones I like. I mean, even talk about the ones I don't like. Of course, in a respectful way, not to shit on the filmmakers. Uh, I'll be 50, damn it. Only in spirit. Last weekend was an underworld day for me, back to back from the franchise. That's funny you mentioned that because uh, I was thinking about the underworld films the other day, and I kind of want to rewatch them again. And uh, my girlfriend wants to rewatch them too, so I think I'm gonna go through and watch all five of them again because they're good. I like them, even the bad ones. I don't mind. Supernatural. I dropped out of that early. Didn't like the show. Been a rough day today. Decided to wake up to tragic news. Well, sorry to hear that, man. Really sorry to hear that. Kathy says, yeah, seen it. Sean Supernatural got better as it went along. Yes, it did. The first 5 seasons of Supernatural are just awesome. I love that show. Nostalgia. Okay. Lots of werewolf movies. Question is, most I've enjoyed enough as possible B movies. I think my key is that I can admit something is bad, but I can watch it for shock value. Yeah, well, I mean, also, you don't. I mean, it's okay to just like something. I mean, you don't have to like only love or hate stuff. And exactly, if you can watch something and just acknowledge its flaws, but then be like, hey, well, those flaws didn't bother me so much, and I still able to enjoy it anyway. Um, I think that's perfectly fine, and that's where Skinwalkers falls for me. Is that it is um, not a perfect film at all. There is issues with uh, some of the writing. There is issues with some of the direction and the tone and all that. But I think as a whole, I think it's a fine 90-minute movie that that is paced pretty well and takes itself seriously. It takes the werewolf thing seriously. Um, yeah, on a roll they have sitting in my cabinet for years that will change. Have you not seen any of the Underworld films? I think you should, man. Um, they announced Jared and Misha will be joining the boys season 5, which is very cool. Yeah, the boys is pretty much like a supernatural reunion, right? Uh, it does annoy me when people go posh and look down on those. But yeah, exactly. Uh, yeah, we know they're bad. We're not dumb. No, not see one Underworld. You have not seen one of them. I think Underworld's fine. I like those films. They are action heavy as well, but uh, they do a lot better than Skinwalkers. I'll give it that. So yeah, I guess I could take that banner down, huh? I stopped talking about the story a while ago. Uh, yeah, so uh, when it comes to Skinwalkers, um, it's it's fine. It's enjoyable. I just do not like the looks of the werewolves at all. I think that's probably my biggest issue, more so than anything, is the werewolves and how they're handled. But I don't know. I like the story for what it is. It's basic, but I think it works perfectly fine with this story that they're telling within this world. Um, so yeah, doesn't seem like too many other people have seen Skinwalkers. So um, I was going to watch Skinwalkers last night, but what can I say? I watched my favorite TCM movie, the remake, Ray's favorite. I like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. Uh, uh, they look terrible, or they're yet. I think that like in Transformation is fabulous in Underworld. Yeah. Uh, the first three Underworld movies are really, really good. The fourth one is okay, and the fifth one is all right. Don't hate any of those movies, and I do like the werewolves. I especially like William in the second film. I love that type of werewolf. But yeah, the werewolf looks terrible. I'm 20 minutes in. And the Skinwalkers, yeah, I'm not a fan of the design. I think that's really my biggest crack. I think that's what holds it back the most for me. Well, that and of course, again, the tone and the decision to lean more towards action than horror, um, which doesn't make sense to me for a werewolf film. Next week, uh, as I read through the list earlier, it's going to be The Werewolf and the Yeti from 1975. It's also known as Night of the Howling Beast, which I think is a much better title. But who am I? Yeah, next week diving into a Paul Naschy film that I, spoiler alert, really enjoy. So you can check that out. I think that's on Tubi to watch. I think it's also probably available to rent um, if you're looking to watch it without ads. Editing is choppy. Yep, the editing and the color correction. Um, is, yeah, not very good. Werewolf and the Yeti. That looks definition B movie. It is. It is. Uh, it's a good one, I think. It's funny because I've watched a couple of like videos on YouTube of people ranking the Paul Naschy movies. The ones where he's playing this werewolf character, Waldemar Daninsky, and people don't seem to love it as much as I do. Um, but yeah, I'm looking forward to actually rewatching Werewolf and the Yeti. Kathy says, much love for Naschy. Yeah. All right. So, anyway, I have butchered this episode enough. So, Skinwalkers. If you're looking for a fun B movie, uh, Skinwalkers, I think is worth it. Yeah, it's on Tubi. Yep. Um, yeah, it's just I wish it was done a little differently, um, but you can do a lot worse when it comes to werewolf films, and we will be talking about some of those films this year. Some of the films that I listed off that are on the schedule. Um, I'll actually mention a couple of them. So some of the ones I don't like. Werewolf Rising, didn't care for that. The Amityville Moon, didn't like that. Um, a Werewolf in England. Uh, I actually didn't mind Werewolf Castle. uh, Werewolves on Wheels, not really a huge fan of that. Viking Wolf was okay. Never Cry Werewolf, that's basically Fright Night ripoff. but with the werewolf. Lycan, I don't remember being very good. The Howlin' New Moon Rising, the Howlin' Reborn, don't like those ones very much. Yeah, those are some of the ones that I don't like that we'll be talking about soon. Oh, another Wolf Cop. But yeah. Teen Wolf, good grief. Yeah. I'm eventually going to talk about the Teen Wolf movies, but I want to do it after I watch after I finish the TV show. I started the TV show like a month or so ago. I got through the first season. However, I didn't get to continue on with season 2, so I do want to finish all of the show. And then there's like that more recent movie they did that followed up the show, and then I also want to talk about the older films as well. Yeah, so good show tonight, and thank you, Dan. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I think I kind of fumbled this one a little bit. I don't know why. I had everything I good to go earlier, and then just right before. Just kind of lost it. But anyway, thank you for joining. Thank you to Kathy, Sean, and anyone else who watched this or who will watch this in the future. Join me next week for the Paul Naschy film, The Werewolf and the Yeti from 1975. Again, that's on Tubi to watch. It's also available to rent. So check it out and join in the conversation. It's better than the title sounds. I'll just say that. So anyway, thank you to everyone who watched, and join me next week, and hopefully I won't fumble through that one like I did this one.